Brexit latest. Theresa May is heading to Brussels for crunch Brexit talks today. Image Getty. Spain let slip the bloc is seeking to add legal assurances to the withdrawal agreement, a concession to the UK but still not enough to satisfy the European Research Group. Should this be achieved with a sign-off at this weekend's summit in Egypt, the meaningful vote could be brought forward. Spain's Foreign Minister Josep Borrell told Bloomberg, "I think the accord is being hammered out now, without having to go to Sharm El-Sheikh to do it." He also said that between the EU and Mrs. May there is contact all the time, before reminding Britons the bloc will not reopen negations on the hated backstop, which seeks to guarantee no new border in Ireland following Brexit. Mr. Borrell said, "The EU's position is that the treaty won't be reopened, but can be interpreted or complemented with explanations that may be satisfactory." He also said he was sceptical that what the EU had offered the UK would be enough for the Prime Minister to win over the House of Commons during a meaningful vote. Just 37 days are left until the UK leaves the EU on March 29. Follow express.co.uk below for live Brexit updates. 8:05 p.m. update. May hails progress made on Irish backstop agreement. Theresa May said progress had been made in solving the impasse over the backstop arrangements for the Irish border that has hindered her Brexit deal, but added that time was running out to secure changes. Mrs. May is in Brussels seeking to change the agreement she struck with the EU last year, after the deal was heavily defeated by MPs. Her cabinet has criticised backstop arrangements to avoid a hard border in Ireland, saying that under the current deal it could lock in EU rules for Northern Ireland indefinitely. "I've underlined the need for us to see legally binding changes to the backstop that ensure that it cannot be indefinite. That's what is required," she said after meeting European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker in Brussels. Mrs. May said that negotiations with the EU would continue at pace. "Time is of the essence, and it's in both out interests that when the UK leaves the EU, that it does so in an orderly way. So we've made progress." 7:15 p.m. Update. May has constructive talks with you. Theresa May and Jean-Claude Juncker said the talks in Brussels on Wednesday night had been constructive, and wanted ongoing discussions to be held in a positive spirit. A joint statement issued by the European Commission said their discussions covered which guarantees could be given with regard to the backstop that underlines, once again, its temporary nature and give the appropriate legal assurance to both sides. Both reconfirmed the commitment to avoiding a hard border on the island of Ireland and to respect the integrity of the EU's internal market and of the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister acknowledged the EU's position and notably the letter sent by President Tusk and President Juncker on 14 January. She welcomed the continued engagement of Task Force 50 with her team, the role alternative arrangements could play in replacing the backstop in future, where they tasked the Commission's chief negotiator Michel Barnier and Secretary of State Stephen Barclay with considering the process the European Commission and the UK will follow, and whether additions or changes to the political declaration can be made that are consistent with the EU and UK government positions and increase confidence in the focus and ambition of both sides in delivering the future partnership envisaged as soon as possible. The Commission's chief negotiator and the Secretary of State will follow up. The two leaders agreed that talks had been constructive, and they urged the respective teams to continue to explore the options in a positive spirit. They will review progress again in the coming days, seized of the tight time scale and the historic significance of setting the EU and the UK on a path to a deep and unique future partnership. President Juncker and Prime Minister May agreed to talk again before the end of the month. 6:50 p.m. update. May and Juncker do not shake hands as PM arrives in Brussels. Theresa May was greeted by European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker and Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier as she arrived at the Berlaymont building in Brussels for Brexit talks. Mrs. May and Mr. Juncker did not shake hands as they posed for the cameras in front of UK and EU flags, and remained unsmiling until the Commission President attempted to break the ice with a joke. Responding to a reporter's shout of "Prime Minister," Mr. Juncker said, "Yes, "Oh, no, I was a Prime Minister," Mr. Juncker, who put his hand on Mrs. May's back to guide her away to the meeting, was wearing a plaster on his left cheek, which he earlier explained was due to a shaving cut. 6 p.m. update. Juncker jokes facial plaster was not resultive injury from May. Jean-Claude Juncker joked to reporters that the plaster he is sporting as the result of cutting himself shaving was not caused by Theresa May over Brexit. The EU chief executive felt obliged to explain why he was sporting a bandage on his cheek ahead of a meeting with the Prime Minister, having been worried, he said, that Mrs. May might have been accused of whacking him in frustration. He said, "I'm telling you so that you don't think it was Mrs. May who gave me this injury." He repeated that he was not expecting a breakthrough from the talks, as May struggles to secure concessions from the EU that would secure parliamentary support for a Brexit deal before Britain leaves the European Union on March 29. The plaster he is sporting is the result of cutting himself shaving. Image PA 5:20 p.m. Update. Tory peer says she would jump ship to independent group over no-deal Brexit. A Conservative Party peer and former minister has become the first to publicly announce she is ready to jump ship to the ever-expanding independent group should a no-deal Brexit become a reality. Former Pensions Minister Baroness Altman said she felt disillusioned with the UKIPisation of the Tory party before declaring she would happily sign up for a moderate splinter party in the event of a no-deal Brexit. She emotionally warned of the risks of Britain leaving the EU without a deal before adding the Conservatives are being infiltrated by UKIP. She told the Daily Telegraph, "I want to cry, I want to weep at what we are doing. If a group of like-minded Conservatives give up on the Conservative Party because it is intent on taking the UK out of the EU without a deal, then I would consider supporting them." Baroness Altman with former Prime Minister David Cameron. Image PA 5 p.m. update. Spain attempting to clarify talks on new Brexit deal. Brussels will not agree to renegotiate the deal on Britain's exit from the bloc, but there might be some margin for manoeuvre for a statement on the Irish backstop. Spanish Foreign Ministry source confirmed. The comment came after Bloomberg read that Spanish Foreign Minister Josep Borrell had said a revised Brexit accord was being hammered out. He let slip the bloc is seeking to improve the language on the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement to reassure Brexiteers and prompt them to back the deal. 4:45 p.m. update. EU to force PM to jump first in talks over New Deal. EU chiefs will force Theresa May to jump first as the Brexit negotiations go to the wire, Brussels sources today revealed. The Prime Minister will be told to prove that she has a parliamentary majority for her latest strategy before EU diplomats and officials give the go-ahead for any renegotiations. Brussels sources have revealed that Mrs. May will be urged to hold a series of indicative votes in order to win back the trust of her European counterparts. EU 27 leaders are wary of moving too quickly to offer the Prime Minister any concessions and will not sign off on proposals without cast-iron guarantees that they will be backed by MPs in Westminster. They felt scorned in November when Mrs. May pledged the support of Parliament if they agreed her draft EU withdrawal deal at an emergency summit in Brussels. Josep Borrell had said a revised Brexit accord was being hammered out. Image Getty 4:10 p.m. update. Lib Dems join forces with independent group to block Brexit. Liberal Democrat leader Sir Vince Cable has hinted at a possible electoral pact between his party and the independent group, saying it would be foolish for them to stand candidates against each other. He told the BBC, "It would be foolish for my party and this independent group to fight with each other and compete with each other in elections. The first past the post system means that we would damage each other very badly. It would be a foolish thing to do, so we have to cooperate." He added, "We totally share their views about Brexit. In the coming weeks we are going to have to work with them and others to make sure that the damage that Brexit could do is stopped." The Lib Dems are joining forces with the independent group to block Brexit. Image Getty 3:10 p.m. update. Brexit talks. Juncker slows down expectation. Jean-Claude Juncker has dampened Theresa May's hopes of a deal with the EU after he let slip he doubts that we will get anywhere at a meeting in Germany. The Eurocrat spoke at an event at Stuttgart late last night and hours before Mrs. May made her way to Brussels for tense negotiations on the hated Irish backstop, which could see her win Parliament's support should it be scrapped or amended. Though Mrs. May was no doubt sceptical before she made her way to Belgium, as the bloc reiterated its rhetoric of not budging on the withdrawal agreement days ago and ruled out any changes to the almost 600-page document. 2:47 p.m. update. Moscow plots new realities in post-Brexit relationship with Russia, and the European Union will adapt the 1994 Partnership and Cooperation Agreement after Britain has left the bloc, according to Moscow. Vladimir Shijov, Russia's permanent representative at the EU, told state news agency TASS he hopes Moscow and Brussels can reach new realities after Brexit. Mr. Shijov said, "As for our relations with the EU, no matter what Brexit may be, settling the European Union's relations with London does not mean settling the European Union's problems arising from this event with the rest of the world. Many countries are posing a question already now about how to adapt the existing agreements, including the 1994 Russia-EU Agreement on Partnership and Cooperation and the associated joint documents, to new realities." The diplomat explained. Quotes on commodities such as metals, mineral fertilizers and grain will be recalculated once Britain is no longer a member of the Brussels Club. Vladimir Shijov says Moscow is planning new realities with the EU. Image Getty. Mr. Shijov claimed Brexit was a negative event for both London and Brussels. He said, "The goal of all the efforts taken by the sides is to minimize negative aspects rather than to gain any advantages. Neither side will get any advantages. The question is who will be affected to a larger extent." The envoy added no-deal Brexit would be the worst possible scenario for all parties. Mr. Shijov said, "Practical problems will emerge as the minimum of contacts will have to be maintained in one way or another with regard to the customs regime and the maintenance of transport links. At the time of Brexit, airliners should not be allowed to fall down to the ground from the sky and ferries across the English Channel to get anchored. So, there will be some accords." 2:16 p.m. update. US actor Kelsey Grammer urges government to just get on with Brexit. Frasier star Kelsey Grammer has blasted the government for delaying Brexit, insisting ministers should hurry up and finalize a deal. Mr. Grammer, who is set to appear in a West End revival of musical Man of La Mancha in London, has urged Prime Minister Theresa May and her parliament to get on with Brexit. The American-born actor also lashed out at the possibility of a people's vote, speaking to BBC's Radio 4 Today. Mr. Grammer said, "Today, we have been talking about it a little bit, the Brexit thing. It seems to be that it should be done with. It should be over by now. The deal should be done, cut and done. Holy C***** p. 2 years. What the hell?" he added. "Just get on with it. Some people won't like it. Some people will." Read more. Holy C*****. Frasier star stunned at Brexit impasse. Just get on with it. US actor Kelsey Grammer has told Theresa May to just get on with Brexit. Image Getty. 1:43 p.m. update. Anti-EU squad rules the Conservatives. So Brianna Sobri said she has resigned from the Conservatives because Brexiteers now control the party. The Broxtowe MP said, "You don't leave a political party that you call home for a many number of years without a great deal of thought and a considerable amount of heartache. As my friend Chuka Amuna said, you don't join a political party to fight it, and you don't stay in it and skirmish in the margins when the truth is the battle is over and the other side has won." The right-wing, anti-EU squad are now running the Conservative Party from top to toe. "We lost the referendum and Brexit now shapes and defines the Conservative Party," Anna Sobri said. The anti-EU squad now rules the Tory party. Image Getty. 1:38 p.m. update. Wollaston says her decision was not just about Brexit. Sarah Wollaston said she does not recognise the Conservatives as the same party she joined 10 years ago. The Totnes MP said, "It's with great sadness that I'm leaving the Conservative Party. I have to ask myself, would I have joined the party in 2009 if the party had looked then as it has become today. The answer is no. If I wouldn't stand as to be a Conservative MP, if I wouldn't encourage others to vote Conservative in a general election, then how can I possibly continue with the Conservative whip? Mrs. Wollaston said her decision was about more than Brexit, saying she joined the party after a career in the NHS and accused Theresa May of failing to deliver on the pledge she made to tackle burning injustices in our society. However, Mrs. Wollaston went on to ask the Prime Minister to hold a second Brexit referendum. Sarah Wollaston said she could no longer ask people to vote Conservative. Image Getty, 1:31 p.m. Update. 3 Tory MPs speak about defecting to independent group. Edie Allen began the event by explaining why she left the Conservative Party. The South Cambridgeshire MP said, "I am tired of feeling numb, so today alongside my wonderful colleagues I have resigned from the Conservative Party. I believed that under David Cameron the party, like me, was ambitious for the country. It was proving we could be a party of competence and compassion. Too often in the last 3 years have I found myself going over the top fighting for benevolence in our welfare system. I can no longer represent a government and a party that can no longer open their eyes to the most vulnerable in society. We have a Prime Minister bullied into submission by the ERG and is now dragging the country kicking and screaming to the edge of a no-deal abyss. I'm done." Heidi Allen said the Conservatives are not the same party she joined. Image Getty, 1:18 p.m. Update. EU dares, wins, Rodney. Only fools and horses. Actor John Challis has said Theresa May should invoke her in Adele or in Brexit negotiations. Speaking about the West End version of the hit TV show, Mr. Challis, who played Boise, said, "It's embodied in Del Boy dusting himself off, getting up and having another go. Maybe Theresa May could do with the bit of that spirit. People are attracted to that. There's a certainty about that. Things aren't so bad. That's the message. Whatever happens, we'll get through. Lovely jubbly. Theresa May should take Del Boy's spirit to Brussels for backstop talks," Boise actor has suggested. Image Getty, 12:56 p.m. Update. PMQs ends with no mention of 11 MPs who defected from Labour and Conservatives. Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn both managed to avoid the elephant in the room during today's Prime Minister's questions. Mrs. May saw 3 of her MPs walk across the Commons to the newly formed independent group today after Mr. Corbyn lost 8 of his backbenchers on Monday. However, the defections were not acknowledged at all by either party leader in Parliament. 12:34 p.m. Update. EMA loses landmark Brexit challenged. Brexit is set to cost the European Medicines Agency, EMA, £500 million after the pharmaceutical regulator lost a landmark legal challenge. The EU agency is relocating its London headquarters to Amsterdam and had argued it should be allowed to terminate its 25-year tenancy agreement because of Brexit. The EMA said Brexit had frustrated their £500 million deal and should not have to pay the sum to landlord Canary Wharf Group. It is the biggest EU institution affected by Brexit, employing 900 staff in the UK. However, a judge at the High Court dismissed the EMA's claim, and the Medicines Organisation is considering its options, including taking the case to the Court of Justice of the European Union, while subletting the building subject to the landlord's consent. In a statement, the EMA said, the agency continues to trust in the cooperation and goodwill of the Canary Wharf Group to find a mutually satisfactory solution before the end of March 2019. Ben Hatton, a lawyer representing Canary Wharf Group, said, "The judge has ruled that Brexit does not amount to an event of frustration of the EMA's lease, and this result will be welcome news in the property and legal market, bringing greater certainty as to the impact of Brexit on contracts." The EMA is being forced to move their London headquarters to Amsterdam because of Brexit. Image Getty, 12:08 p.m. Update. May asked to rule out no deal and hold second referendum. Stephen Doughty, Labour, Cardiff South and Penarth, asked the first question at PMQs. He demanded the Prime Minister stop playing Russian roulette and rule out no deal. Mr. Doughty also asked the final Brexit deal be put back to the people. Theresa May replied, "As he knows, there are 2 ways to ensure we do not see no deal. One is to stay in The EU, which is not what the referendum said, and the other is to agree a deal. What I am working on at the moment is taking the view of this House of Commons about the concerns of the backstop in the deal and working with Brussels to resolve that issue such as that this House will be able to agree a deal. 11:57 a.m. update. PMQs about to begin. Morning business is being wrapped up in the House of Commons, and Theresa May is due to speak at the dispatch box in less than 5 minutes' time. Follow our live coverage of Prime Minister's questions here. PMQs live Theresa May nightmare as she faces MPs after Tory trio quits. 11:43 a.m. update. Anna Soubry letter to constituents. Defector Anna Soubry has explained why she quit the Conservatives in a letter to her constituents. Ms. Soubry said, "My decision to leave the Conservative Party, which I first joined over 40 years ago, has not been easy. But I believe it is the right decision." On Monday, a group of MPs resigned from the Labour Party and they are now sitting as members of the independent group, and I will be sitting with them in Parliament. My decision will come as not much of a surprise to regular readers of this email newsletter. I have written of my belief that the Conservative Party is drifting to the right wing of British politics. I have also recognised that many constituents feel the views are not represented by either of the two main parties. Nottingham East MP Chris Leslie said on Monday in his resignation speech, "Enough is enough." I agree with him. In the last few years I have come to the firm view that I have more in common with his values and principles than many people in the Conservative Party. Read more. Tory split bombshell. Soubry, Alan and Wollaston quit party to join Labour rebels. Read more. Anna Soubry and Sarah Wollaston quit Conservatives full resignation letter. Read more. Who is Heidi Allen? What constituency does she represent? Is she a Remainer? 11:36 a.m. update. Reaction from Tory MPs on their colleagues' resignations. Great shame to have lost the commitment and undeniable talent of 3 Conservative colleagues. I look forward to continuing to work with them on a number of important issues, including a Brexit deal that works for the whole country. Amber Rudd MP at Amber Rudd, February 20, 2019. Very sorry to read this from my principled and fearless friend at Anna Soubry. Any political party should be a broad church, and we should regret losing 3 such talented women from the Conservative Party. https://t.co/2 Messi at Nicky Morgan MP at Nicky Morgan 01, February 20, 201,911.24 p.m. update. Theresa May responds to Soubry, Wollaston and defections. The Prime Minister said, "I am saddened by this decision. Of course, the UK's membership of the EU has been a source of disagreement both in our party and our country for a long time. Ending that membership after 4 decades was never going to be easy, but by delivering on our manifesto commitment and implementing the decision of the British people, we are doing the right thing for our country, and in doing so, we can move forward together towards a brighter future. I am determined that under my leadership the Conservative Party will always offer the decent, moderate and patriotic politics that the people of this country deserve." Mrs. May is expected to face a Commons grilling on the resignations at Prime Minister's questions in just half an hour. 11:10 a.m. update. 3 Conservative MPs quit to join independent group. Anna Soubry, Sarah Wollaston and Heidi Allen have all left the Conservative Party. In a joint statement, the trio said, "We no longer feel we can remain in party of government whose policies and priorities are so firmly in grip of the European Research Group and Democratic Unionist Party. There has been a dismal failure to stand up to the hardline erg. We believe there is a failure of politics in general, not just in Conservative Party but in both main parties as they move to the fringes, leaving millions of people with no representation. Our politics needs urgent and radical reform. The resignations are a disastrous blow to the Prime Minister, whose slender parliamentary majority with the DUP has now been cut to 324, excluding the Speaker and Sinn Féin MPs who do not take for seats in Westminster. It means she faces an even tougher task, securing a majority for her Brexit deal in the Commons. Speaking about the trio of resignations, Conservative MP Andrew Bredigan told express.co.uk, "I think all politicians will be ultimately judged by their actions." 10:53 a.m. update. Tory MP chair of second referendum. Campaign issues warning to May. Conservative MP chairman of a group demanding an immediate suspension of Article 50 in the hope of a second Brexit referendum has accused Theresa May of refusing to meet with him for talks. Philip Lee has said he is deeply frustrated that his group of 8 MPs who represent the Conservative Party's mainstream are being sidelined in Downing Street Brexit discussions in favour of Eurosceptic members of the URG and Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. Speaking to Sky News, the Bracknell MP, who last summer became the first minister to resign over the Brexit deal, said, "The Tories are morphing into UKIP light." Mr. Lee said he received a shocking response to the letter he sent Theresa May last week requesting a meeting on holding a second referendum and accused the government of trying to botch together some sort of majority in the House to get through a blind Brexit. He said, "I don't think it's democratic to deliver something that was not what was promised in 2016. The Brexit deal does not match the promises made in 2016. So there is a legitimate reason to go back to the public and say, is this what you want? It's not what you were promised, but is it what you want?" Philip Lee, extreme right, was pictured last month with a number of Labour MPs who quit on Monday. Image Getty. Amid speculation, a group of Conservative MPs will this morning announce they are quitting the party to join the new independent group. Mr. Lee said he does not plan to join them, however he understood their reasons for doing so. Mr. Lee was pictured with a number of Labour MPs last month who quit the party to form the independent group on Monday. He said, "I think my party should be in the centre ground because that's how you win elections. My concern is this is driving people to reconsider the positions in the party. If the Conservative Party continues to move in a certain direction, it won't just be me considering my position. It will be many other of my colleagues." 10:21 a.m. update. EU issues Brexit deadline ultimatum. Britain will have to seek an extension to Article 50 or accept no-deal Brexit if a deal is not agreed by the middle of March. The EU has warned. Afterwards, Brussels diplomats said it would be too late to gather the leaders of all 28 states together before Brexit Day. One EU source said, Britain has until March 10th, maybe March 15th at the latest. The diplomat stressed the EU needed time to prepare approval at the Leaders' Summit due from March 21 to 22, adding, otherwise they will be forced into a delay of Brexit, or crash out. 9:48 a.m. update. Britain and EU need to make necessary compromises to avoid no deal. Speaking about the looming prospect of Britain leaving the European Union without a deal, Mr. Hunt said, "The single most uniting factor in all the discussions I've had with Europeans and vast majority of people in the British Parliament is that nobody wants no deal. People are working very hard to avoid that outcome, but also to avoid no deal. You have to have a deal. That means we need to make the necessary compromises that ends up with an agreement that works for both sides." 9:42 a.m. update. Hunt confident of March 29th Brexit deadline. The Foreign Secretary said, on the question of March 29th, "It is a very important deadline. I think what's changed in the last 4 weeks is that we can now see a way that we can get a parliamentary majority for a deal, that is to take the deal on the table in its entirety but make a simple change to the backstop. If we can make that change, we are confident that we can get this deal through, and the critical thing is that Geoffrey Cox is able to change his legal advice to Parliament, then we can meet that deadline." 9:37 a.m. update. Hunt reaffirms Britain's commitment to Europe after Brexit. Mr. Hunt also reiterated Britain's commitment to defending Europe after Brexit. He said, "Some in Germany have seen decision to leave the EU as a retreat from the global stage. Nothing could be further from the truth." Theresa May has restated that Britain's commitment to the defence of Europe is immovable and unconditional. He added it is of paramount importance for all sides of the Brexit debate to ensure the withdrawal agreement is agreed. "We must not allow Brexit to be all-consuming. That means an orderly exit from the EU is of paramount importance. We must all do everything we can to make sure A deal is reached. Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt has addressed German politicians on Brexit this morning. Image Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, 9:32 a.m. Update. EU should not let Brexit make us introspective. Mr. Hunt also spoke about how Britain will increase its presence on the world stage after Brexit. He said, "We will put to work the remarkable array of connections across the globe that history has given the United Kingdom. Whether through our EU friends or Atlantic allies, we will seek to bind the democracies of the world together." The Foreign Secretary warned the EU that Brexit should not stop it from working with Britain on security. He said, "Right now it would be an enormous mistake for Europe to allow Brexit to make us introspective. When we look inwards, our adversaries sense an opportunity." Mr. Hunt pointed to Russia's annexation of Crimea, Moscow's deployment of tanks in eastern Ukraine, and the global ban on chemical weapons, which has been violated countless times in Syria, as well as the Novichok poisoning in Salisbury. 9:23 a.m. Update. UK and Germany will still be bound by values after Brexit. Jeremy Hunt has arrived in Berlin and addressed German politicians and members of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Mr. Hunt spoke of the British-German friendship at the think tank alongside its chairman, Professor Norbert Lammert. The Foreign Secretary said, "Some values transcend Brexit no matter how consuming that may seem. Britain and Germany cherish the same freedoms, respect the same laws and face the same dangers. We are bound together by democracy, openness and equality. We shared those ideas in 1972 before Britain joined the European Community, and we will share them in 2019 after Britain leaves the European Union. Britain is not going away. We are not relocating our island. Our two countries may not be bound by the structures of the European Union, but we are nations united, not by institutions but by beliefs." 8:47 a.m. Update. Foreign Secretary says Brexit deal can be done. Jeremy Hunt has said getting a deal which will enable the Attorney General to change his legal advice to Parliament on the backstop is key to unlocking the stalemate in Parliament. Speaking as he boarded a flight to Berlin from Copenhagen after a good set of meetings with the Danish Foreign Minister, Mr. Hunt said, "The message is really to everyone that it is possible to find a way through this. Of course it's challenging, there are difficulties, but there is a solution. We can get this deal through Parliament. If we can have a deal where the Attorney General can change his advice on the backstop, that's going to be key to unlocking it. Our commitment to the Northern Ireland peace process is unconditional, but with vision and statesmanship on all sides this can be done." 8:31 a.m. Update. Could the EU sign off a new Brexit deal this weekend? Theresa May's top team is hopeful of reaching a backstop breakthrough with Brussels this week. If all goes according to plan, the new deal could receive approval from EU leaders at an EU-Arab summit in Egypt over the weekend. The EU League of Arab States (LAS) meeting is bringing together the heads of states or governments from both sides for the first time. It will take place at the International Congress Center in Sharm El-Sheikh on February 24 and 25. European Council President Donald Tusk and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi will co-chair the event, which will also be attended by Europe's leaders and Jean-Claude Juncker. The conference will seek to strengthen Arab-European ties and discuss a wide range of topics including trade, migration and security. If the EU likes the sound of Mrs. May's backstop alternative arrangements, then Brexit could also be put on the agenda. That would allow a binding vote to be held in Parliament as early as next week. Jacob Rees-Mogg has insisted the Malthouse compromise is alive and kicking. Image Getty. 8:11 a.m. Update. Rees-Mogg's Brexit backstop plan is alive and kicking. Jacob Rees-Mogg is adamant his Brexit plan to fix the disputed Irish border backstop mechanism is alive and kicking. The European Research Group chairman believes his so-called Malthouse compromise is still being considered by Number 10. Mr. Rees-Mogg's comment came after his pro-Brexit group held talks with Theresa May last night, backed by former Brexit Minister and Deputy Steve Baker. The Malthouse agreement would see Theresa May renegotiate the Northern Ireland backstop and replace it with a free trade agreement and technology to avoid custom checks at the Northern Ireland border. Following the talks with Mrs. May, Mr. Rees-Mogg and Mr. Baker released a joint statement that said, "The Malthouse Compromise is alive and kicking. We look forward to further developments."